Hey, chosen champs, I hope y'all having a blessed and positive day. I would just want to remind you guys that the enemy is sent out to frustrate your purpose. And just like in the book of Ezra, the adversaries were so upset that the Jews and the Levites were building something for God and they wanted to be a part of it. But the Levites said, no, God told us to build. So they started to continue to build. And then as they were building, the adversaries hired people to stop them from building. He hired people to weaken the hands of the Jews. And guess what happened? The hands of the Jews weakened and they stopped building. What season are you in that God has you building something? God has you working towards something. God has you building something for the kingdom. And you keep feeling these attacks and you feel like everything is coming up against you. You feel like your family, you feel like your coworkers, you feel like everybody is coming up against you. And you're so confused right now. And you're so frustrated and overwhelmed right now, not realizing that the enemy has sent things your way. He has sent attacks your way to keep you from building. And just like the Jews, he's trying to weaken your hands. They said he tried to frustrate their purpose. And guess what? It worked because they stopped building for years. They didn't start building again until the new generation come, until a new King Darius was on the scene. That's when they were able to build again. So whatever you are building right now, I want you to keep on building. Don't let the enemy attack stop you from moving forward in what God is doing. Because just like them, they were delayed in their building because they allowed the enemy to stop them. They allowed the enemy, they allowed the attacks to prosper in their life. And even though God still finished the mission and they still was able to build, but this was years later. This was after a new generation. This was after a new king had come. So remind yourself that no matter what you go through, no matter what you're dealing with, I want you to continue to build. I want you to keep going forward. I want you to keep working on that thing that God told you to work on, because the enemy is going to throw stuff your way because he sees the value in what you're doing. He sees that there's going to be impact. He sees that this is kingdom work, and anything kingdom he doesn't want to prosper. Anything kingdom he wants to keep down. That's why you keep going through the attacks. That's why things keep coming up against you. Every time you're trying to do right, every time you're trying to move forward for the kingdom, here the enemy comes with the attacks. Here the enemy comes with his schemes. But you have to be wise enough to not let the enemy move you out of your position. Because see, years I let the enemy move me out of position and it caused a delay. I let the enemy stop me from building the things that God told me to build. But guess what? God is in the business of restoring. He's in the business of restoring everything the enemy tried to take. So now, even though it took years, I'm back into position. Don't let the enemy get you out of position, because if he gets you out of position, he gets you out of your kingdom blessings. If he gets you out of position, he gets you out of your overflow. If he gets you out of position, he gets you out of the thing that God has for you. Don't let the enemy win. You have more power than the enemy. He has no power over you because God is inside of you. God said you are the head and not the tail. You have the power to stomp on the serpents. You have the power. So don't let the enemy weaken your hands. Keep building. Keep building in the midst. See, God is calling you to a season of finishing. God wants you to finish what you start this season. And you cannot start something and every time an attack or every time something comes, you're ready to give up. No, God created you to be bold. God created you to be courageous. So stop letting the enemy win. You have more power. You have the strength. No matter what problems, no matter what issues, no matter what circumstances come your way, you have to learn to keep fighting for what you believe in. Keep fighting for your vision. Keep fighting for your dreams. Because if you let the enemy weaken your hands and stop you from building, that means you're letting him win over your life. Don't let the enemy win over your life, because you have the victory. And it's not until you give away your victory to the enemy that he's going to win. But he'll never win. Because God is the one that makes sure you stay on track. That's why it's important that you stay in his presence. That's why it's important, because God is going to give you strategy. He's going to give you things and ideas so you can defeat the enemy. That's why it says resist the enemy and he will flee. Because the more you show him that his weapons are not going to work, the more you show him that the attacks are not going to work, the more you show him that no matter what he does, it's not going to break you, it's not going to bring you down, he will flee. That's why God said, I always give you a way out of the temptation. I always give you a way out of your circumstances. I always give you a way to defeat the enemy. You just have to be in his presence so you can listen. You just have to seek God so he can tell you the direction that you need to go. But you got to stop letting the enemy have so much power over you. Because every time something happens, you're ready to go into depression. You're ready to go into anger. Instead of just defeating the enemy head on. He has no power over you. But he does stuff to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to get her upset today. I'm going to get him upset today. So guess what? He hits you in the same place. But once you start doing something different and show the enemy that he has no power, he's going to try different tactics. He's going to try different tricks because the old tricks don't work. That's why you got to get into a new position, because the enemy knows where to hit you at, and he knows that's going to get you upset. He knows that that's where you're weak at. But you got to show the enemy you're stronger than that. You got to show the enemy that you're not going to let him overcome you or overtake you in any situation. You are an overcomer. You have already won. You have the victory. But it's left up to you to receive it and show the enemy who's boss. So don't let your circumstances, don't let your situation stop you from building that very thing that God has for you. Because if you learn how to be resilient, if you learn how to push, if you learn how to keep going, even in the middle of the obstacles, it's so much greater on the other side. But you just got to push. All right, Chosen Chance, I'll see you guys next time. Peace. I love you guys. Peace.